Solo board gaming night here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Tokyo Sidekick. As always, I want to give you an overhead view of the table so you can get an idea of how much space the game takes up. I will let you know this is a giant board, and that's not even including the power-up board or the player boards. You're going to need a massive amount of space to play this game. And if you want to play with more than 2 heroes and 2 sidekicks, you're going to need even more than this. With that said, let's take a look at the box and see what's inside. Tokyo Sidekick is the first board game I own that actually comes with the cover slit. It looks really cool, but it's unique to me at least. Thankfully, there's plenty of room inside the box to be able to fit everything back in the box fully sleeved. I really love that. Unfortunately, I never backed this game, so I got the retail edition. So when it comes to all of the heroes, the sidekicks, the villains, the supervillains, and the menaces, they come in standees. Thankfully, they look great. But man, oh man, do I wish I would have been able to get my hands on the acrylic standees that the Kickstarter edition came with. Inside the box, you're also going to find all the cards and player boards that you're going to need to be able to play the game, along with that massive game board. There's an actual extra they add, which is a little comic book. Now, it's not the best written comic book, but it's very well illustrated, and it's actually a really nice extra, a bonus that was included in the game for free. The rulebook for Tokyo Sidekick was really well made. There was a section in which it lets you know how difficult it is to play the superheroes and the sidekicks you're able to choose, along with some extra art and lore for the villains and menaces. Really neat. They even added some bios for the heroes and the sidekicks as well. The rulebook really isn't long at all, with just 14 pages of actual rules in which you're going to have a whole bunch of really well illustrated examples. But what really stands out is that there's this app called Diced, and it includes an actual tutorial on how to play Tokyo Sidekick. I mean, I still recommend reading the actual rulebook, but really, you don't need to. Your objective in Tokyo Sidekick is to protect Tokyo from all the havoc caused on the map by the villains and supervillains. There are going to be a whole bunch of incidents that are going to cause mayhem in Tokyo, as well as villains, supervillains, and even menaces that you're going to have to stop before they completely destroy Tokyo. You lose the game if the destruction meter ever gets to 15. If a second fire token has to be placed on a red incident, if you need to draw a damage card and there's no more damage cards to draw, if you need to draw an incident card and there's no more incident cards to draw, if you need to draw another villain and there are no villains in the deck, and finally, if the menace completes their objective. During your turn, there's going to be several actions that your hero and sidekicks can resolve. The energy you need to spend to resolve those actions are located beneath each action on the board. To spend energy in your hand, you simply exhaust your card by placing it sideways. However, for me personally, I found it easier to just flip the card over. It made it just easier to see and manage. To resolve a move action, simply spend 1 of any energy and either move your hero or your sidekick up to 2 spaces on the board. To resolve a charge up action, spend any 2 energy and simply draw a card from your deck and place it in your hand. To resolve a brush up action, spend any 1 energy and remove a card from your hand permanently. This could be any card, so get rid of those damage cards. To resolve an incident, what you're going to do is spend any type of energy shown on the actual incident card itself. Once you spend that energy, Simply remove the incident from the board, and now you get to add 2 XP to your character board. Every time a hero and sidekick team finish their turn, you're going to move the mission marker up and add an incident to the board. Once the marker goes back to the first spot of the mission board, something really terrible is going to happen on the board. To resolve an attack action, make sure that your hero or sidekick is on the same space as a villain. Now, you can also have assistance from other heroes or sidekicks, which helps you take down and defeat stronger villains and supervillains. The first time you attack a villain, supervillain, or menace, you have to shatter their defense. In this case, you would have to have an attack power of at least 5 to first shatter their defense. The attacking sidekick and hero spends the energy they're about to use. Make sure that you read how dual attacks work in the rulebook. If they're receiving assists, make sure that the other team also spends their energy. Compare your energy power to the shield of the villain, supervillain, or menace. If it exceeds it, you get to shatter that shield. However, if this attack was on the actual health itself, the villain then is defeated, removed from the board, and the villain then goes into the asylum by you placing that fire token removed from their shield and placing it in the asylum. Every hero and sidekick that participated in that attack gains 3 XP on their player board. A sidekick or hero can assemble by spending 1 energy and simply placing either your hero on their sidekick space or their sidekick on the hero space. Finally, your hero and sidekick can spend the XP accumulated to power up. You power up by looking at the power up board and being able to add stronger cards to your discard, which later gets shuffled to your hand, or you get to unlock abilities for your hero, making him more effective and overall stronger. You can power up your sidekick by giving them the hero's innate ability. You can even upgrade and power up the hero's abilities, making them overall stronger. Whenever a second villain is placed in the asylum, supervillains start to show up in Tokyo. Whenever a second supervillain is sent to the asylum, that's when the menace shows up. If the heroes and sidekicks are successful in stopping the menace, they save Tokyo, winning the game. With that all said and done, let's get straight into the review. I'm going to say this right off the bat. The art in Tokyo Sidekick really resonated with me. Ever since I was at the game shop and I saw it on the shelf, it caught my eye's attention and I knew that I wanted this game. And I don't regret it. Everything in this game, from whether it's this little comic book that was included with the game, or you're looking at the actual player cards, be it the sidekicks or the heroes or even the villains, everything about this game just pops. It looks so colorful, so vibrant, and what I think I liked about it most was that it gave me Ultraman vibes. It really did. I grew up in the 80s and Ultraman was a thing in the 80s and I really liked it, and for some reason, although I don't know any of these characters, I felt nostalgia while playing this game and it really resonated with me. Now, the actual game board is not really colorful, as you can see. It's actually really dark, but it's thematic considering what it is that's going on in Tokyo. So it doesn't really bother me, but wow, when it comes to the actual character cards and pretty much everything else in this game, it just pops. It's very vibrant, very colorful, and extremely well illustrated. Unfortunately, this game is just too big. It takes a lot of table space, and although I like that the game board is spacious and it gives you enough space to be able to understand and see all the action that's going on in the table, I do appreciate that. But when you add the actual power-up board, the player boards that each have a hero and a sidekick. It's just a lot. It really is a lot. And if you want to play with more heroes and sidekicks, in other words, if you want to play 3 or 4 players, you're going to need something like me personally, and I have a big table here. I'm going to need a smaller table that I usually use for other bigger games that I have. And I just wish that this game would have been a little, just slightly smaller, so that I would be able to place at least another team on the table. But as is, this game just takes up a lot of space, and you need to be warned about that. On the flip side, however, the game fits really nicely right back in the box. The game has a really well-made insert. Very, very few games that I own have a really well-made insert like this, and usually I have to make my own custom insert, but thankfully this game fits back in the box fully sleeved. I'm talking about all the cards sleeved. I really enjoyed that. And although the game is wide or tall depending on how you want to place it on your shelf, it is not really thick, so it is easy to fit back in your shelf. I put mine on my top shelf, but it fits nicely back in the shelf. Really well done. One of my 2 biggest gripes with this game, however, has to be with the actual menaces. And not because they're not fun to deal with, because they are. But there are only 3 menaces, and personally, I feel that once you know their objective, so once you play each of them at least one time, and you know their objective, you kind of know what to expect, which diminishes your returns when you come back to repeat playing. That's not to say the game isn't fun. It just means that it becomes not as surprising anymore because they don't act any differently. The only thing that may be different is which other supervillains appear on the board after the menaces appear. And I just wish they would have added at least another 3 more menaces to be able to make that ending just so much more powerful and enjoyable with the variety that I feel that this game really needed. I feel it's a missed opportunity. They could have easily just added 3 more. But yes, I just feel that those 3 menaces are not enough. However, once again, on the flip side, there are plenty, and I mean plenty, of supervillains and villains that your heroes and sidekicks are going to be battling and taking care of in Tokyo. And it really does add the variety that the game needs when it comes to the menaces. Instead of you getting the variety at the end, you're pretty much getting the variety in the beginning and the middle when it comes to the villains. And there's plenty of villains and supervillains that you'll be seeing. Not only that, you'll also be able to play as a variety of different heroes and sidekicks. And what's really neat about that, just like the villains and the supervillains, all of the heroes and the sidekicks are very unique. They feel and play differently than one another. So yes, there are not many menaces that change the end game. However, there are more than enough villains, supervillains, heroes, and sidekicks to really add an incredible amount of variety in the gameplay. Unfortunately, the game has starting incident cards. These are incident cards that start to appear inside of Tokyo. And in the beginning of the game, you're always going to start with the same 6 incidents. Now, that's good when it comes to actually giving your heroes and sidekicks the ability to level up their heroes and sidekicks to be able to gain new abilities and powers. I understand that. But with repeat plays, you see the same exact missions, you do it the same exact way, and it just kind of feels samey. because you know the missions are all going to appear on the same spot of the map in the beginning of every game. And I wish that would have been different. If the starting cards, there would have at least been another 2 more sets of 6s that would have of 6 incidents that would have allowed the beginning game to populate incidents in different parts of the map. I think that would have been better, and that would have kept the game more exciting. On the flip side, I could understand how the supervillains and the villains are actually what causes you to move around the map differently, because at the end of the day, the incidents are very kind of samey either way. But I just feel that both the beginning of the game and the end of the game with the menaces feel very samey, especially at the end with the only 3 villains. The only thing that's really going to change that ending up a lot are going to be the super villains that populate the map. Other than that, the beginning of the game and the end of the game can sometimes feel samey. With that said, I did highly enjoy the actual gameplay loop of the game, spending the actual energy to be able to resolve any action that your hero or sidekicks have, unlocking abilities, adding cards to your deck, dealing with all the different villains, super villains, and even menaces that show up. It was all really good, and it was really tense when you're not able to complete one of these red incident cards, and you have to then place one of these flame tokens on there, and if you have to place a second flame token on there, you just immediately lose, and you add that to the ensuing chaos that is already occurring on the map in Tokyo, and it really adds a lot of exciting gameplay. It's a very simple game to learn. It's a deck builder with really fun experience-based progression that you just level up your characters, and it's just simple fun. I really enjoyed it. Tokyo Sidekick had art that really resonated with me. I really thought it was vibrant, colorful. It really resonated with me a whole bunch. I really enjoyed it. The box insert was extremely well done, and I love the fact that it fit all of the cards sleeved. I also enjoyed that there was a lot of variety when it came to the villains, supervillains, heroes, and sidekicks. Now, yeah, it's too big on the table. It's difficult to play with more than 2 heroes and 2 sidekicks. And that's really a shame. It just takes up way too much space. And it really could have used a few more, I would say at least 3 more menaces in total, just to spice up that end game. But with all that said, I really did enjoy Tokyo Sidekick. Now, this game, you need to see everything that I just showed you here to decide for yourself whether or not it is for you, because it either will resonate with you or it will not. For me, I'm more than glad that I have this game as part of my collection. And if anything that you saw here interested you, I am pretty sure, actually I'm very positive, that you are really going to enjoy your time with Tokyo Sidekick. With that said, I want to thank you for spending some time with me watching my review of Tokyo Sidekick, and I hope you have a great game night. Take care.